And in the midst of all of this, while there is a face-off with China in the Ladakh sector, there are reports coming of a Chinese army incursion in Barahoti, which is the middle sector in Uttarakhand, where up to 100 Chinese army soldiers apparently came into territory claimed by India. The Indians found out. We moved army resources, ITBP resources towards where the Chinese incursion had taken place. Mercifully, there was no face-off. The Chinese army retreated, but suggesting that it's not just in Ladakh and sometimes in the northeast where there is potential for trouble. Even the relatively settled middle area between India and China is also at this moment rather tense. The army, though, is denying that any bridges were destroyed or any Indian infrastructure was taken down by the Chinese army.
The Chinese army transgressed the line of actual control again, this time in Barahoti, middle sector, Uttarakhand. According to information, Chinese soldiers, approximately 100 in number, including some reportedly on horseback, came approximately 4 kilometers inside Uttarakhand and stayed for about 2 hours. As soon as the Indo-Tibetan border police personnel deployed in the sector learnt of the transgression, they reached the area, but by then the Chinese soldiers had gone back.
Barahoti, an area approximately 80 square kilometers of grazing ground, has been a bone of contention between India and China since 1954. The Chinese of late have been showing interest in this area and they've been coming up to the area of perception. So there wasn't any face-off. But yes, this area has been a bone of contention. It is our area.
This, according to experts, is being seen as a tit-for-tat response for patrolling by Indian forces till India's claim line. But the large numbers in which the Chinese troops transgressed the LAC has raised eyebrows. Congress MP Rahul Gandhi took to social media platform Twitter to target the Narendra Modi government. He said the government claims it hits terror at source, but the reality is the Chinese are entering our homes and hitting us. Rahul Gandhi was quoting a report that claimed that the Chinese had not only transgressed in the middle sector after Ladakh, but had also destroyed a bridge, a claim denied by senior government officials. India and China remain engaged in a cold standoff at the line of actual control in eastern Ladakh since May 2020. 20 Indian soldiers led by Colonel Santosh Babu made the supreme sacrifice of their lives, pushing back Chinese soldiers in the Galwan area in eastern Ladakh. After 12 rounds of talks, the troops have disengaged from most friction points, but tensions remain at Depsang, Hot Spring and Demchok. From eastern Ladakh in the western sector to Barahoti in the middle sector and Sikkim and Arunachal Pradesh in the eastern sector, China is rapidly building up its infrastructure along the India-China LAC in China's Western Theatre Command, looking after Tibet and Xinjiang. An indication that tensions are set to remain high along the India-China LAC in the foreseeable future. India has not only increased troop deployment in the sector, but has also activated advanced landing grounds to ensure quick deployment and movement of men and material in the area. Bureau Report, India Today.
So typically it's the Ladakh sector which is more volatile, face-off continuing in places like Depsang. Now, Gaurav, even in the middle sector in Barahoti in Uttarakhand, reports of this incursion. The army is trying to play it down, but make no mistake, the Chinese threat too is ever looming and ever present, never there.
The Chinese threat is looming and increasing. Rahul, in the past decade, China has built up extensively. In the past weeks and months, especially post-Galwan, China has built up all along the Western Theatre. They've changed 4 Western Theatre commanders on ground. If we were to specifically talk about the Barahoti middle sector, China is building tracks, China is building garrisons in that area. Another area which isn't very often talked about is the tri-junction of India, Nepal and the Tibet border, where China again is building up in a big way. So you have from Arunachal Pradesh to Sikkim to the tri-junction to Barahoti, the middle sector, and of course eastern Ladakh, where China is building up in a big way. More longer airfields, more resources, more rocket forces, more tanks and artillery, and incursions also increasing in some areas. Of course, in this instant case, the army is saying that there is an agreement and therefore no incursion and these are army sources. Officially, both the army and the ITBP are tight-lipped, but no incursions, no bridges being broken is what sources both in ITBP and the army are telling India Today reporters, Rahul.
Sushant Sareen, there was expectation that the Chinese may after a while start pulling back in some sectors, like in the finger areas of Pangong they have. In Depsang and certain other sectors, the face-off continues, the deployments continue, and now these new incursions. Would you see this as part of a continuing pattern, or do you think that these reinforcements that Gaurav Sawant is speaking about, infrastructure, garrisons, bringing in more troops, bringing in more weapon systems, suggests that the Chinese, the threat of last year is continuing into this year, and the Chinese have decided that this is the way it will be from here on?
I would go with that particular assessment, Rahul, that this threat has not gone away. You might have some ebb and flow in the tension along the border, but I think over the last 10, 12 years, we've seen this relentless Chinese build-up along the borders. In the last couple of years, we've seen this happen at a somewhat frenetic pace. Now, what is the reason for this? I would imagine that the Chinese are probably preparing. It could be a twofold thing. Either they are actually preparing for a major, eventually, maybe in the next 6 months, 1 year, maybe later, for a major conflagration with India. That is one possibility. The second possibility is to make India react in a knee-jerk manner to every garrison, every infrastructure project, everything they do. And then, there's pressure in India that, we have to match up when we simply do not have the same kind of resources. So I think rather than respond to the Chinese in kind and spend ourselves into ruination, I think we need to re-evaluate how we are going to respond to whatever the Chinese are doing. What are the kind of countermeasures that we can take, whether it's our own rocket forces, whether it's our own long-range artillery, whether it is certain other overt and covert means that we can take to deny the Chinese whatever they're trying to do. So I think you have a top general sitting with you on your show. Maybe he can shed more light on it. But I personally think that trying to match the Chinese on virtually everything they are doing is a mug's game as far as I am concerned. I don't think that's the route we should follow. That does not mean that we do not build the necessary infrastructure, something we've been lax in doing.
This new incursion in the middle sector comes on the back of the big Quad meeting in the United States where leaders of India, Japan, Australia, the United States met. It comes on the back of the new AUKUS military strategic alliance between Australia, the UK and the US. And what it also demonstrates is, all these military alliances, largely from a naval perspective, maritime perspective in the Indo-Pacific is okay, but it's India that needs to deal with the dragon on the ground across the Himalayas. What are you making of continuing Chinese belligerence, not just in Ladakh, but now in Barahoti?
You see what Mr. Sushant Sareen has said. One thing I slightly differ, he's spot on. That is a major conflagration. I don't think China will resort to any major conflagration in the present scenario. They created an optical illusion in eastern Ladakh by withdrawal over there. It is surprising that they did not do anything in Arunachal. Now it's come to light that all the villages have been occupied, infrastructure is being built over there in Nepal, the tri-junction. They've done that also. It is basically an act of posturing leading on to some nibbling action which may take place. But a major conflagration, as per my experience and analysis, I don't think. The basic aim of this posturing is to ease the pressure on Pakistan because we have mobilized certain troops. I won't name them, you know it better, which have gone against China as of now. So the pressure on Pakistan has been relieved. So that is the basic strategy of China. What happened in Eastern Ladakh, I have my own views. We had a position of strength on Kailash. They made us withdraw from there, but they did not move away from Depsang, which is their position of strength. So they create optical illusions. Yes, we are withdrawing, but they retain their position of strength. And by posturing, well, they have been able to suck in some of our troops, which we have to do it. We have to take precautionary measures. So this is what I see.
Okay, I'm going to take a very quick break right now. I want to thank General Jaswal, SP Vaid, Kamar Chima, Sushant Sareen and Gaurav Sawant for joining us. When we come back, we'll shift our attention for a bit